Warning. The following video contains strong language that some viewers may find offensive or disturbing.
George Carlin said, "Think of how stupid the average person is. And realize half of them are stupider than that." What real-life example have you seen that validates this view? Knew a kid who drank bleach to prove it wouldn't kill you. A week later he showed up at school after taking a shot. He said he proved his point when the teacher asked why he was bragging about it. Mr. Hawk just said, "But you cannot argue that without that medical treatment you'd have died, though you even said you have stomach damage and a burn esophagus yourself." This kid was bragging about that. He was not mentally disabled or otherwise. He was just that kind of idiot. I knew a girl in high school who wanted to breathe fire. She put lighter fluid in her mouth and instead of blowing it onto a flame, she lit it on fire inside her mouth and then tried to blow it out. She came to school the next day with a bandage over half her face. I'm an insurance claims adjuster. If you truly knew how many stupid drivers you're sharing the road with, you'd never drive again. I work in highway safety. Can confirm, I can no longer count on two hands the number of people I've stopped with in the middle lane of traffic on a freeway, with no bigger problem than a flat tire. When I question them as to why they stopped in the middle of a freeway, the typical answer is either the vehicle wouldn't go any further, or they don't want to damage their rim. I swear to whatever you want me to swear to. People will put the well-being of the rim on their car above their own safety and even the safety of their children. I teach 6th grade. One time a parent came to me after trying to help their child with math homework and asked, "What number is X worth? It feels like it changes with every problem." Was at a party and someone's shitty old truck got stuck in some mud, so instead of sobering up and coming back the next day, he makes a Molotov cocktail with gas and throws it at the truck. The truck caught fire and was completely destroyed. I once offered a girl a tuna sandwich, and made a comment about the tuna being dolphin-friendly. She then said, "I thought tuna fish came from dolphins?" I guess she at some point she heard that if you love dolphins you shouldn't eat tuna and thought tuna is what we call dolphin meat. Like we call pig meat pork or cow meat beef. Single quote. I worked at a bank. Mobile depositing had just became a thing. We received a picture of someone's cash for deposit. Yay. A woman I used to work with who insisted that any animal could reproduce with any other animal. She believed that sperm from any animal was the same and that DNA was irrelevant. She believed this because she once saw some sickly, possibly deformed puppies and decided that they must have been half dog and half rat. There is a considerable overlap between the intelligence of the smartest bears and the dumbest tourists. Yosemite Park Ranger on why it's hard to design a bear-proof garbage can. I used to work in Banff National Park. One day at the end of the tour I was driving some guests back to their hotel and a woman was adamant that Banff was clearly a very dangerous place to visit since we just let wild animals run around everywhere. They should be in cages. Had to fight the urge to throw her off the bus pretty hard. Some other gems that came up in the past include a guest's insisting he needed to change money they got in BC to Alberta currency, not a real thing. A man arrived very irate that the entire Trans-Canada Highway was not lit with proper street lamps every 100 yards, that would be a stunning waste of energy. Not to mention probably cost more than our national budget. And your car has lights on it. More than a few have grossly underestimated the distances involved in a country like Canada. No, you cannot drive from Calgary to Toronto and back in the same day for lunch at the CN Tower. I had a foreign exchange student from Holland stay at my house in BC. I asked him what he wanted to see while in Canada and he asked if we could go check out Niagara Falls one afternoon. Crazy how some people just don't have a concept of how huge Canada is. I think especially people from a country that you could drive across in 5 hours. One of my nieces had a cold as a toddler and was breathing through her mouth. My ex-Bill flipped out because he didn't want her to get carbon monoxide poisoning from breathing through her mouth instead of her nose, the normal way. Pensive face. I worked at Little Caesars and we were proofing the dough for pizza. My boss said at 7 p.m. that the dough needed to rise for 12 hours. And took out her calculator to do the math. So I said that's gonna be 7 a.m. Then she said the dough will expire in 48 hours and started doing the math again. I told her it would expire 2 days from now. And she said, that's kinda weird how that works out, huh? I quit shortly after that. On 9/11, the general manager called his daughter who was attending ASU to wake her up and make sure she saw what was going on. The customer service manager said, "It won't be on her TV yet. Arizona is 2 hours behind us." At the start of working from home due to COVID, I had a few users submit tickets for connectivity issues. These tickets got through 2 lines of support before landing in my queue. Turns out that the corporate Wi-Fi doesn't follow you home and you need home internet in order to connect to the VPN. Infantryman was told to trim the hedges. So he lifted the lawnmower. His buddy started it. As a brand new medic, I spent about 6 hours pulling finger meat from the hedges. I worked with a lady who was remarking on how a friend of hers had lost a bunch of weight. She pondered, "I wonder how many Diet Cokes she had to drink to do that." Edit, same lady was convinced beyond repair that when you sneeze, the air only comes out of your nose. There was no convincing her otherwise. Man, this made me a little sad. People are so susceptible to marketing these days that they think just because something is called diet, it must be good for them. Reminds me of my flatmate from uni who used to drink smart water before taking exams. A former coworker was talking about how she wanted to go back to school to get her master's degree because she only had a bachelorette degree and wanted more job opportunities. I said, "Do you mean a bachelor's degree?" She insisted it was pronounced bachelorette when it was given to a woman. Then she led me back to her office and pointed at her diploma, to the word baccalaureate, and said, "See, bachelorette." I had a coworker, really sweet girl but dumb as shit, tell me she smoked American spirits because they were non-addictive. See, as she showed me the box. "Oh, honey, no, that says no additives." Such a sweet, stupid girl. She was a good server. At least. In grade 10, we had a science test, and the teacher gave 1 point for putting a date on the paper, and 1 point for your name on the paper. And then there were 98 points for the rest of the test. A guy sitting in front of me got 0.5 Didn't write the date and only wrote his first name. I once got into an argument with someone over my own name. There are 2 pronunciations, German and English, and they just couldn't accept the fact that I use the English pronunciation despite the fact that we were speaking English and it's what I've used my whole life, but nope, I was lying to mess with them. I've got 2 little girls who were born 15 months apart. They look pretty similar, and we get asked if they're twins pretty often. Even though one is quite a bit taller, you'd be forgiven for thinking they were fraternal twins. But yeah, ... I once got into an argument with somebody over whether my daughters are twins or not. It wasn't until I pointed out that I was literally there, watching them being birthed, that they finally conceded. When I was a sophomore in high school, a classmate asked to borrow a pen, and I lent him one of mine that had the Eiffel Tower on it. He asked where the building was from, and I said Paris. He gave me a confused look and asked where Paris was. Was it further away than Chicago? Now it was my turn to be confused. We were in high school. How the hell did he not know Paris was in France? But whatever, maybe he's not the brightest. So I inform him that Paris is in France. But he still looks utterly confused. I assume he misheard me. So I started explaining it. France. You know, like, France. From history class? World War II. Napoleon. That France. He said he was bad at history, and had never heard of France before. He then asked me if it was another state. Or was it like a region of our state? Utterly baffled at this point, I tried to explain that it was another country, and it was in Europe. Exasperated, I remember saying, you know, Europe, that other continent? He still looked confused, so I added, the land across the ocean. Finally, there is recognition on his face. He tells me he heard of oceans before. He thinks he understands now. I remind you that this encounter, with a student who didn't know what Europe was, took place in high school. I was doing a COVID decon of a medical supply warehouse that had a confirmed positive employee not too long ago, and while my team was inside doing our thing, the floor shift manager was following us around without a mask or gloves or really any of the proper PPE except for a high-vis vest and steel toe boots. I had to tell her to leave the room. I was fogging with viricide. Edit. Meanwhile, we were wearing full-level C hazmat suits with P100 combo cartridge respirators and all seams taped up. When I was in high school, we were reading a short story about what would have happened if the Japanese attacked us back with nuclear weapons after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. A girl in my class raised her hand and said something along the lines of, "Why does this matter? None of it is real anyway." The teacher had to ask her to clarify. But this girl thought World War II and the bombing of Japan were just from a movie and didn't actually happen. The best part is, the girl was half Japanese. The people who believe 5G is responsible for spreading the virus. Seriously, I don't understand how electromagnetic signals could possibly distribute a biologically impactful virus. Seriously, there's a new low every month per year. I work in IT. I once had a lady call me from home because she couldn't get connected to her VPN. I asked her if she was connected to her home wireless network. She replied saying that she did not have home wireless. I then asked how she was connecting to the internet. Her reply was, "I'm using the cell tower. I can see it from my house." Single quote dot. While this is technically possible with a hotspot or cellular card in your PC, this isn't what she meant. She thought she could get internet service via Wi-Fi from the cell tower. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification button. See you next time.